Hello, welcome to PCMag Live. I'm Dan Costa. He is Sasha Segan. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about the top tech news. We're going to answer some of your reader questions. We're going to pull a cool thing off the shelf in the lab and show it to you live on air. But before we do that, we want to talk to you a little bit about today's sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by Intel, which invites you to check out its new pop-up store, Intel Experience Store in New York City. This unique, ever-changing environment provides an opportunity to get your hands on some of Intel's latest tablets and two-in-one devices. You can even take some of them home for a 24-hour period and test drive them at home, enabling you to really try before you buy. You can catch the Intel Experience Store at 262 Mott Street in Nolita, open now through January 25th. You can get more information at intel.com/stores. So thanks, Intel, for that. Big news today, Stephen Mollenkamp, who most people have never heard of. Mollenkamp.
See, there you go.
Who most people have never heard of, is going to be the new CEO of Qualcomm. We were talking about this in the morning meeting. This is actually really huge news, but most people don't know what Qualcomm does.
Yeah, Qualcomm is one of the biggest, most powerful technology companies that doesn't have a huge consumer profile, but is in a massive number of consumer devices, because Qualcomm is the #1 provider of processors for smartphones and tablets. So if you're carrying around a smartphone and it's not an Apple smartphone, there's a very high chance that you have a Qualcomm processor in there. And that is what has enabled Qualcomm to get, at this point, the same market capitalization as Intel. Yeah. They don't quite have Intel's revenue yet, but they are going up, whereas Intel, kind of flat.
Yeah, huge news, and it's a company that you may not have heard of, you may not know now, but you will know in the next couple of years, because they're starting to really crank up their branding. Also in the news, Twitter, there's a controversy. Just a couple of days ago, Twitter released a new, basically changed the way you could block people online, and there was a Twitter revolt over it.
It was actually just yesterday. This entire thing happened in one day. Okay, so Twitter goes ahead and they basically changed their block button into an ignore button, which meant that you could no longer stop people from following you, but you just wouldn't be able to hear the nasty things they said about you.
Which they thought was a good thing, because they were trying to protect people from people who were harassing them.
Except it turns out that that made harassment worse, because this would enable harassers apparently have their own social networks of nasty people, and this enabled the harassers to promote the idea of harassment through their own nasty people social networks and make the harassment worse. So a lot of people freaked out. They said, you know, this actually has the reverse of the effect that you intend. Please reverse it. And guess what? Twitter responded. They fixed the problem.
Yeah, really actually nice that they did it so quickly. So the problem was that they were, by turning into an ignore button, the harassment didn't stop. You just couldn't see it anymore, which, you know, is just not a good solution either.
And then the harassers were getting other people who you hadn't blocked to harass you, and it just would become this big thing. But the good news is, you know, that they turned around so quickly. That is how web services should respond to people's complaints.
Also in the news, it wouldn't be PCMag Live if we didn't cover Beyonce. Beyonce just dropped a new album, surprised the world yesterday. Brand new album, brand new videos. But the thing that makes it a PCMag story is that she's releasing it on iTunes exclusively, and you will not be allowed to buy individual tracks. You can only get the entire album at once for $17.99. This is remarkably old school.
Yeah, I feel like, what is this, 1981? Am I buying a record? Like, for 15 years, whatever, we've had this disaggregation of tracks from albums. And now she's doing this thing with this giant album that's obviously going to sell very well, saying, no, you can't have the individual tracks anymore. Sorry, that's over. Is that over? Are we going to see more of that?
I think that it may not even be over. She may be releasing the full album right now, trying to get all that initial money now, but then there's nothing that stops her from offering these tracks individually in 3 months.
Yeah.
So you know, she's having her cake and eating it too, as she is known to do. Let's move on to one quick question. We've got an email question today from Ryan, who says he just switched from an iPhone to an Android phone, but all of his friends with iPhones are still sending him iMessages. How can he stop this? How does he convert to his new platform?
Yeah, this is a big problem, and I've heard of this problem from a lot of people with iPhones and a lot of people switching off of iPhones. You not only have to get your phone number removed from your iMessage contacts, you have to get your friends to remove you as an iMessage recipient, and then to use straight texting. It's a huge pain. Lots of people are complaining about this to Apple. It's a big ongoing problem. And you wonder, is Apple really committed to fixing this? Or are they kind of cackling with glee that it's trouble to move off the iPhone platform?
Yeah, it does make it much, much harder.
Yeah.
And people have no idea, they have no recourse. They have no way to solve this problem.
No, and a lot of your friends don't know that their messages aren't getting to you. It's a big problem.
Cool. Let's move on to one cool thing. We test thousands of products here in the lab every year. Every day we pull one thing off the shelf and show it to you live on the air. Today, that thing is the Synology Disk Station DS1813 Plus, a giant NAS box, which Sasha can barely lift. This is a $1,000 box that comes with an Intel Atom processor, and basically it's an external storage drive for small businesses. I think there's a little bit too much hardware for your average user, but a tremendous amount of storage and super, super fast.
Yeah, it's not just an external storage drive, it's a server. It can be a web server, an FTP server, a file server, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, a very smart server for your entire small business. Lightning fast read speeds. Lots of connectivity on the back here. You know, you see your Ethernet ports. And Samara Lin, who is our expert on this sort of stuff, gave it 5 stars. We do not rate a lot of products 5 stars. 5 stars is not something that happens very often around here. But in this case, it's 5 stars. So if you are a small business or a home office in the market for terabytes and terabytes of hot swappable storage, this is what you want.
Yeah, and Synology may not be a company you know about, but this is actually the second time Synology has won our editor's choice in the NAS category. This is the latest version of their NAS box. And again, top marks all across the board. You can read the full review on PCMag.com. Just search for Synology. It's on our homepage right now. Thanks for joining us. That's been PCMag Live. Remember, you can send us your questions via email, on Twitter, on Facebook, me and Sasha directly, or to PCMag, and we will answer them live on air. Thanks for joining us.